having a love affair with their 24-1 team. Rick Pitino and his Louisville Cardinals arrive at the Carrier Dome after a disappointing loss to St. John's on Thursday. The Cardinals hope to keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive and give them a big boost with a win against Pitino's longtime friend and former boss, Jim Boeheim. Boeheim in the orange looking to extend the best start in school history with a kiss. Big East basketball is next. To ESPN's presentation of Rivalry Week presented by Cisco. Today here at the Carrier Dome, we'll have the largest on-campus crowd in college basketball this season. More than 30,000 fans inside the Loud House to watch Louisville and number 3 Syracuse. The Orange tied with Villanova for the Big East Conference lead. Those two teams have opened up a working margin over the rest of the pack. Louisville trying to stay in the top half at 6-5 in conference, and then the bottom 8 still slugging it out for position. Hi everybody and welcome to Syracuse. Sean McDonough along with Len Elmore. Delighted to have you with us, and a happy Valentine's Day. It'll be a happy Valentine's Day for one of these two teams, and so much to play for both Syracuse and Louisville. The Orange trying to stay in first place in the Big East with an eye perhaps toward a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament down the stretch. And for Louisville, very much a bubble team right now in need of a resume enhancer.
Well, they're bubble personified, if you will. And again, caught in that revolving door, in again, out again. As recently as Thursday, our bracketologist Joe Lunardi had them in as the last one of the last teams in, and they promptly lose to St. John's. Then they're out. I think a win here today, if they can do some things, offensive rebound, shoot the three better, would certainly help their chances.
Three-point shooting has been a key over the history of this rivalry, and Louisville has won the last 4 head-to-head with Syracuse. Not many played well in their big loss at St. John's on Thursday. About the only Louisville player who did perform up to his normal numbers was Samardo Samuels.
Well, Samardo Samuels has been a consistent offensive presence for Louisville, but he's also become a shot blocker of late. 19 blocks in his last 12 games. And Wes Johnson, maybe the most significant impact player in the country next to John Wall. Syracuse is 10-0 when he has a double-double.
He's been banged up lately. His numbers have been dropping a bit. Louisville at 15-9 overall. Edgar Sosa was scoreless in that loss Thursday at St. John's. Jerry Smith, one of those three-point shooters from whom they're looking for more. Preston Knowles, Terrence Jennings, and Samuels round out the top 5. And for Syracuse, winners of 11 in a row since their only loss of the season here in the Dome to Pittsburgh. Andy Rauten's having a terrific senior season alongside the freshman point guard Brandon Trish. The beef up front from Rick Jackson and Arinze Onuaku, and the All-American candidate Wes Johnson. At forward, Johnson banged his right hand late in the game against Connecticut here on Wednesday night. Even with the sore right hand, made a couple of key free throws in the final seconds, but the hand was swollen for much of the rest of the week. He's had limited practice time and did not practice particularly well, according to Coach Boeheim, over the last few days. This community is always excited about the Orange, but talking to people who've been around this program a long time, this team has captivated this community, not only with the winning, but with the way they play. Very unselfish, a fun team to watch.
Well, they certainly are. A very dominant team as well. Third in the conference in scoring. Defensively, 4th in points allowed. 1st in field goal percentage defense and steals. I mean, they've actually swarmed folks. Dominated offensively.
The two coaches, longtime friends. Rick Pitino was an assistant coach to Jim Boeheim here at Syracuse, and Boeheim's first 2 seasons as head coach back in the mid-70s. They remain great friends. They played each other for a national championship when Pitino was at Kentucky, and his Wildcats beat Boeheim's Orange back in 1996. So much at stake today. Louisville trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. They were the #1 seed in the entire tournament, you'll recall, last season. And Syracuse eyeing a Big East title. They'll play Villanova here in 13 days, a game that's already sold out. And the tip was controlled by Wes Johnson of Syracuse, dressed in the home white.
This game may wind up being a battle of the 2-3 zones, which can keep the other off the offensive glass, which can come out and challenge three-point shooters.
Andy Routen sent it underneath to Rick Jackson. He fired to Trish, who was open but missed a 3, and the rebound came down to Preston Knowles. Reginald Delk, ordinarily a starter for Louisville. He's been bothered by back spasms the last couple of days. Did take part in their shoot-around this morning, but is not starting. Sosa miss. Jennings batted it out. And it's kept alive to Samuels.
Again, Louisville third in the conference in offensive rebounds, and against the 2-3 zone, going to make a concerted effort, get to the weak side board, chase down the long rebounds that result from the long shots.
Last time they met was in the Big East Conference Championship game last March in New York. Louisville a 10-point winner in that one. The Cards turn it over. They're hoping to start better than they did Thursday in New York against St. John's when the Red Storm raced off to a 12-0 lead against Louisville and never trailed in the game. Rick Jackson, the first bucket of this one.
And Sean, you're absolutely right. Last two games prior to this one, 31 turnovers, 15 against Rutgers, 16 against St. John's. And Edgar Sosa had 11 of those turnovers, and he promptly turned it over in the last possession. He's got to value that ball a lot better.
He was horrible, in the words of Coach Pitino, in their loss in New York on Thursday. The Brick said 4 or 5 of their players had their worst performance of the year. Onawaku inside off a beautiful setup from Andy Routens, who's such a complete player as a senior.
And that's starting very well for Louisville. We talk about them having some issues defensively. 2 buckets inside. And that paint has been a very porous area for the Louisville defense.
And another slow start for the Cardinals. Scoreless more than 2 minutes in. Knowles used a screen from Jennings, and then Sosa's woes continue. He was 0 for 6 against St. John's. Tough shot. Jennings the fadeaway hook. Now Routens in transition. This is another staple of the Syracuse game. Trish was open and missed it. Jackson was fouled on the way by Terrence Jennings, the sophomore from Sacramento.
Louisville obviously has to do a much better job sealing off inside, and right there, just a nice job to speak about sealing. Onawaku using that big body to screen off the defender. Presents an excellent target, and Syracuse outstanding with regard to passing the ball and hitting the open man. 20 assists per game.
As a result, they're the best shooting team in the country, just under 53% from the floor. They remain pretty mediocre free throw shooting team. And Jackson missed both. Unlucky on the first one that it popped around. Second one wasn't close. Syracuse is just 66% from the free throw line as a team. Samuels had it poked away by Onawaku. Trish. And a held ball called by Tim Higgins. He's working with Tim Clougherty and Bob Donato, an excellent trio of Big East officials here in the Dome today. Jared Swapshire off the bench for Coach Pitino.
Boy, Samardo Samuels not very strong with the ball. You get into that active Syracuse zone, you've got to be strong with the ball. You've got to grip that thing for dear life. Syracuse obviously doing a nice job moving laterally and covering shooters.
Jim Boeheim talked about the key being Louisville's three-point shooting. He said when they make their threes, they're probably going to beat you. When they don't, they probably won't. And nothing but rocks so far from Louisville from the field. Foul before the shot. Onawaku was fouled. And Samardo Samuels called for his first.
Samuels, obviously, we mentioned earlier, the most consistent scorer for Louisville. And Syracuse going right after him. And once again, another pretty much unforced error. 2 guys miscommunicate on the rebound. And you just can't believe, considering what's at stake for Louisville, how sloppy they started this game.
Syracuse didn't execute on the lob. Routens to Johnson, but then went out of bounds. Last touch by the Cardinals. Johnson the pull-up. He's been struggling lately. Some leg injuries and now the injured hand to go with it. His numbers down the last couple of games, only in double figures in 1 of the last 3.
They're averaging about 8 points and 5 rebounds over the last 3, which is highly unusual for a guy that's been as consistent as Wesley Johnson.
Swapshire gets Louisville on the board nearly 4 minutes in. It's a pitcher's duel, 4-2. Routens, baseline jumper. Andy Routens, senior from just down the road in Jamesville, New York, in the Syracuse suburbs. He's leading the Big East in steals, 4th in three-pointers made per game, 5th in assists, and he gives them 10.5 points per game.
And he gives them that long-range threat that just stretches defenses, makes them extend to allow the guys getting into the gaps for Syracuse. Such a juggernaut offensively when they're on.
Onuaku, the block of the Samuels shot. Rinze coming off a career-high 6 blocked shots Wednesday against Connecticut, has 2 already. They had a timeout. We'll cover Big East storylines when we come back to the Carrier Dome. With his right knee, he is making progress. Harangoti's itching to go, but they're not going to take any chances. 4 Big East teams in the top 8. Of course, West Virginia lost twice this week, so we'll see what happens to their ranking when it comes out tomorrow with the new batch of rankings on the Monday.
Certainly going to be a challenge for Notre Dame. Mike Bray and trying to achieve his goal of at least 500, 8-8 in the conference. Without Luke Harangotti is making that much more difficult.
Preston Knowles called for fouls. He tried to guard the lob from the weak side. Wes Johnson, the intended target. Here's a look back at the injury. Ouch. And Mike Bray said when he saw that video, he thought for sure that MRI would reveal tears. The good news was it did not reveal any tears, just a very painful bone bruise for Harangoti. He has been in a brace and on crutches. Was at their walkthrough this morning, but hasn't been doing much. They have Skip Meyer, one of the best trainers in the country there. Mike Bray hoping he'll be able to play Wednesday at Louisville. Against Louisville.
Tell you what, you look at Luke Harangotti and the way he plays with such reckless abandon, you don't think he could ever get hurt. Good wishes.
Hey guys, you
big
want to get
fella.
the floor, please? No, clean the floor.
Tim Higgins would
Come on.
like the floor mopped up at that end.
Oh, it's like doing chores at home, right?
I don't know what the child labor laws are here in Central New York, but that might be an issue right now.
You can tell he's not in the union. That's
If his players gave Jim Boeheim that kind of hustle, they'd be sitting on the bench right now. 5 minutes gone by. Both teams off to a slow start offensively. Syracuse leading 6-2.
Samardo Samuels with 2 personals, and you see Syracuse really trying to work inside on Onuaku. And Samuels on cue draws the offensive foul from the big fella.
That's a big call because it would have been the 3rd on Samuels. Instead, it's the first foul against Syracuse. College basketball continues tomorrow night. Big Monday, blockbuster doubleheader. Villanova in that first-place tie with Syracuse hosts Connecticut, and #1 Kansas in action against the Texas A&M team that's been excellent in the Big 12. Hasn't gotten a lot of attention. They'll get it tomorrow night when they take on the top-ranked Jayhawks. Big Monday presented by Bud Light. Part of Rivalry Week, which I guess is actually more than a week, presented by Cisco on ESPN. Swapshire a miss, and good position for Onuaku. Routen's thought about a deep 3. Beautiful ball movement, and it's Onuaku off the last pass from Johnson.
And it's all about ball movement, unselfishness for Syracuse. We mentioned it before. Leading the Big East in assists as a team, 20 per game, and it's just beauty to behold.
Mike Mara off the bench. He's the shooter. Unfortunately, he hasn't made a lot of shots, shooting 22% from three-point range for Louisville in this his freshman season. Jackson a dunk, and Trish the assist this time, and Rick Pitino wants a timeout.
Tell you what,
Louisville just 1 out of 9 from the floor to start the game. So after falling behind St. John's 12-0 Thursday night at Madison Square Garden, they're behind Syracuse 10-2 today. And Rick Pitino starting to get agitated.
As well he should. I mean, this is the type of defense they played Thursday at St. John's. Everything in the paint for St. John's, opportunities galore. Putting it on the floor, too much gamble, no help. And then finally, it's just all about guys retreating. And you never retreat defensively. You got to go out and you got to attack. And Louisville seems to have pretty much picked up where they left off, sadly, for Rick Pitino and his bunch.
They didn't score their first points in that game against St. John's until 13-14 remained in the first half. Swapshire trying to find a gap in that zone defense, and Sosa finally makes the three. He's had an excellent senior season, but scoreless in 25 minutes Thursday against the Red Storm, and now has his first bucket today to make it 10-5. Scoop Jardine in, and Chris Joseph now with the ball for Syracuse. They're essentially a 7-man team. In 5 of the last 6 games, they played only the 7 men who played so far today. Routens was fouled on the drive by Mara, his first.
Well, you can tell Syracuse senses the fact that Louisville is really backing off. Earlier, it was all about the ball movement. This is what gives the sense that Louisville not really committing defensively. Just 4 guys touching the ball, resulting in a layup. Too many opportunities in the paint against Louisville between the St. John's game and this game thus far.
Routens, their best free throw shooter at 80%, made 1 out of 2. He had made 24 of his previous 26 free throws before that 1-for-2 trip. So it's a 6-point lead for the Orange. More than 7 minutes played. Mara out of the corner. And the long weak side rebound to Swapshire, who steps back for a 3. He can make it, and he just did. Jared Swapshire with his 17th 3 of the season. He's 31% from beyond the arc for the year.
And that's what the offensive rebounds are going to do for Louisville. They're going to have to be volume shooters since they're not shooting a 3 as well as they have in past years. But the more opportunities they get, the better their chances.
Just 33% as a team for the year. Wes Johnson a 3 and a smile. Some of the people who follow the program say they haven't seen as much of that smile lately. Early in the year, after he sat out for a season, he was just so happy to be back out there and playing well. But as the season has gone on, Syracuse had so much success. Johnson's been injured. Talk about him being a lottery pick. They feel like some of the joy has gone away, and I'm sure they're happy to see that smile again.
Yeah, and I'm sure that smile also had to do with the fact that his hand feels a lot better. when you knock down a shot, you feel no pain. But yeah, the distractions of the lottery talk and all of that can really take its toll.
Strong drive in the bucket by Sosa. For as bad as the start was for Louisville, they're very much in the ball game now. 8.5 minutes in, back within 4. And the screen set by Jackson. The feed perfect. Jardine to Johnson.
Anytime you get easy baskets like that against your defense, you have to be dissatisfied. I think Rick Pitino's going back to the drawing board immediately. Wanted his pad and a pen. But too many easy baskets. We talk about them going inside. Now that Louisville pays more attention to what's going on in the paint, literally by himself is Wesley Johnson there. And then on the alley-oop lob, not a black shirt near him. And that, when your hand feels good, you're knocking down shots and you're dropping in alley-oops, gives you something to smile about.
I think what the Syracuse folks would tell Wes Johnson is, if you're concerned about being a lottery pick, no, you're going to be a lottery pick no matter what happens the rest of the season. Any NBA scout you talk to says he's going to be a lottery pick, and he's likely to leave after this season. He's only a junior because he had a couple years of prep school and sat out a year as a transfer after 2 at Iowa State. He's going to be 23 years old when the draft comes around.
Yeah, and sometimes that age works against you. We saw that happen with Sam Young, who's an outstanding player, but some people say because of his age, late draft pick in the 2nd round.
Swapshire was fouled. Well, I've talked to a bunch of NBA scouts this year, and every single one of them has Wes Johnson as a lottery pick if, in fact, he comes out.
As well he should. He's got the physical tools, the mental makeup, and right now, certainly a winner.
And he's having on a team that's been one of the best in the country all year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's too close to call. I mean, all 3 of those guys are obviously impact players. I think if you're going to step back for a second and look at the impact, Wesley Johnson probably has had as much impact, as I mentioned before, as even a guy like John Wall on a national basis as far as the success of this team.
All three of them All-American candidates, National Player of the Year candidates. You could make a strong argument for any of them. Aaron Godey finishing a phenomenal career at Notre Dame, one of the great players in Notre Dame and Big East history. Johnson on the bench right now with Swapshire, their best free throw shooter, 84% for the year, 5th in the Big East. And right on cue, only 1 out of 2 for Jared, sophomore from St. Louis.
Someone ought to do a study as to how often the play-by-play guy mess up the free throw shooter.
Routens was wide right with a 3, kept alive by Onawaku, but Jackson couldn't corral it in the corner. Now the Cardinals down by 5, nearing the midway point of this first half. Siva's been a red-hot shooter, and Payton, the freshman, with a miss. Last 5 games, he's 14 for 19 from the floor, but missed that one.
And you can see Rick Pitino really asking Siva, how quickly do you want to shoot? Let's explore the defense a little bit.
Good hands. Rick Pitino, big proponent of deflections on defense. They chart deflections, and good hands by Smith. Ricocheted off the Syracuse defender or Syracuse offensive player and went out of bounds.
And one of the reasons deflections are so important is because it keeps people out of foul trouble. If you're going to deflect the ball, your hands are either going out to your sides or above your head. You're not going towards the offensive player and trying to reach, which is when most fouls occur.
Siva, Camara, a couple of freshmen on the floor now for Coach Pitino. Samuels playing with 2 fouls, guarded by Wes Johnson in the zone. Smith, tough pass. Hard to get that one through all those long arms, and Onawaku flicked it away. 10 to shoot now for Louisville. Bench hollering at Siva, the time on the shot clock. Mara had to take it. Samuels missed a tip. Swapshire at the rim. Great work by Swapshire and Samuels, and a new shot clock, but Siva lost the ball. Jardine lays it in.
Hard work was just totally neutralized by a little over anxiety. As we said, it's going to be a key factor in this ball game whether or not Louisville can find some extra opportunities off the offensive glass. Pretty good offensive rebounding team. They've gotten them. They've just got to be able to execute.
Boy, great hands by Routens. That got Mara a little bit rattled. Then he fired a pass inside that was incomplete. Sosa comes back in for Louisville. And Siva goes out with Swapshire. Jennings has returned for Coach Pitino.
Well, we talked about Syracuse leading the Big East in assists. And it's just all about ball movement, making the extra pass, being able to draw and read defenders. And as far as the receivers are concerned, utilizing their bodies so well to shield the defenders.
Louisville brought a little pressure in the backcourt this time. Johnson to the baseline. Lukey Jones, who hasn't played at all in the last 7 games. He's been on the milk carton. He's back in there today. Redshirt freshman from Peekskill, New York.
Got in, got that shot up, making up for lost time.
Beautiful use of his body underneath by Onawaku to twist one up and give the Orange a 9-point lead. 8.5 to go in the first half. Onawaku, the best field goal percentage shooter in Syracuse history, 65%. He's 3 for 3 today. Jardine ahead of the field again.
And Louisville just underestimating the length and the activity of this zone. Not protecting the ball well enough. Attempting to get in the gaps and the reach and the quick hands of Syracuse, just creating all sorts of problems.
It's a big crowd. They haven't been very loud until just now. They're quieted as Mara rattles home a 3. Freshman from Smithfield, Rhode Island, just outside Providence. Got 11 points in his return to his hometown when they played the Friars at the Dunkin' Donuts Center. Mara came in 3 of his last 16 from 3-point range. Johnson in traffic, and the rebound by Jerry Smith, senior guard from the Milwaukee area. High dribble, but not a carry.
Yeah, Smith did a nice job of keeping his hand on top of the ball, even though he lost control. He avoided the carry. Louisville trying something different, utilizing a high screen to at least kind of scrape off one of those top guys on the zone to get maybe an opportunity to drive in the gap.
Jerry Smith missed a three. And Onawaku running the floor did well to corral that pass. Chris Joseph down the lane, tough shot, spun off. Rakeem Buckles had a glance off him. Buckles, a freshman in for Louisville. His minutes have been down lately. Big body at 6'8", 215. There's Buckles. Nice pass underneath to Jennings for the dunk.
Pretty good high-low exercise there. Buckles with a nice job of recognizing the open Jennings down low. Again, with the long arms and the active hands, did a nice job of just remaining under control and patient.
And Syracuse calls a timeout. The Orange lead down to 6.
And you take a look right here. Buckles turns and looks, and that's one of the problems most teams have. The top guy never turns and looks down low and has the patience to survey what's going on underneath.
Super Tuesday means college basketball action. ESPN.com, your place to stop and stay for a while. Johnson, Trish, Routon, Jackson, and Joseph, the 5 for Jim Boeheim, out of the timeout. Joseph been terrific in conference play. All of a sudden he's their second leading scorer for the year. And that's a nifty foul line jumper for Chris Joseph, averaging 11 points per game, but he's averaged over 16 points per game in the last 6.
Yeah, Chris Joseph, the perfect guy in that zone to have at the top, a guy who can be nifty with the ball, who can hit that free throw line jumper.
And he's still a work in progress as a shooter. Coach Boeheim says when Joseph becomes a better shooter, he is really going to be tough to handle. And there's a 3 for Preston Knowles, the junior out of Winchester, Kentucky.
And two guys, Preston Knowles and Jerry Smith, both shooting under 30% from beyond the arc. And historically, they've been pretty good three-point shooters, well above 30%. But this year, for some reason, they can't find the range, and it's really hurt Louisville offensively.
Part of it for Knowles might be injuries to his hand and wrist. Had a thumb injury. He was at about 50% from 3 before the hand injury. 5 minutes to go, first half. It hasn't been pretty for Louisville. But the Cardinals in need of a big win for their tournament resume, hanging with the number 3 team in the country. Down by 5. They won here in the Dome last year, but of course last year they had the lottery picks, Earl Clark and Terrence Williams, and a great defender in Andre McGee. Kyle Keurig the miss. Jennings there, and he'll have a chance for 3.
Well, once again, the offensive rebound. Louisville definitely hanging out underneath the basket. That's what's keeping them hanging in. Take a look right here. Jennings, Johnny on the spot underneath the basket. And Louisville drawing close.
National Player of the Year contenders. Evan Turner of Ohio State. They are an entirely different team when he's healthy.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. And any guy that can come back from a broken back and have that kind of impact, he's got to get strong consideration. Outstanding, versatile player.
It's an Illinois team that's been playing very well lately, and particularly tough at home. Terrence Jennings, 62% free throw shooter, could not finish the three-point play. Rick Jackson on the bench now with 2 fouls for Syracuse. The Orange lead is 3 as we're down to 4.5 minutes left in the first half. Routen's tripped as he passed to Joseph. Appears to be all right as he gets back to his feet.
And again, Joseph in the middle of that zone, able to make up his mind, make a decision in midair.
Routen's another deep 3. 6 points for Andy Routen. 2 threes today. 245 for his career. Only Jerry McNamara and Preston Shumpert have made more threes at Syracuse. And Routens is now just 4 away from tying Preston Shumpert on that list.
Well, again, it started out with Chris Joseph inside out exploration and kicking it around, making an extra pass.
I didn't make a
That's
shot.
what Syracuse does so well, so unselfish.
Preston Knowles a miss out of the corner. Trish exploded to the bucket, missed the layup. Joseph the tip that wouldn't go. Sosa all the way to the bucket. Jim Boeheim won't like that defense. Johnson tried to swat it, but it was too late. And then Mara, a foul. Routens didn't see him coming. Good idea by Mara, but he couldn't execute. There's Leo Routens, Andy's dad, one of the all-time great players here at Syracuse, and now the coach of the Canadian national team, a team for which his son plays with distinction. Really touted coming out of high school. As a matter of fact, some in the area thought he wasn't good enough. But Leo and Andy both say 10-year-old Sam might be the best player in the family when it's all said and done. And watching him shoot on the court before the game here, it's pretty scary, the range he has at 10 years old. Both Leo and Andy seem to agree that if Sam keeps going, he's going to be the best Routens.
Well, he's got pretty high benchmarks to try to match.
Andy Routens has gone from player some thought wasn't good enough to play at this level to a guy who's probably going to be drafted now. Projects by many as a second-round pick. Wes Johnson missed. And here comes Louisville, down by only 4. Hard to believe the way the half's gone for the Cardinals, but Syracuse well off its usual offensive game.
Well, again,
credit both defenses.
Well, Syracuse shooting just under 50%, 18 points in the paint to 6 for Louisville, but Louisville's volume shooting from beyond the arc, 4-15. 15 of their field goal attempts, which have been 24, 15 of 24 field goal attempts are from beyond the arc. So that's how they think they can kind of neutralize the Syracuse attack inside.
Louisville's turned it over 6 times. Swapshire's back in. Jardine, Routens, Joseph, Onawaku, and Johnson for Syracuse. Routens open. That one spun off, but Johnson in the right place. Then his pass a little high for Onawaku. Last touch by Louisville.
And I think Andy Routens heard you talking about Sam's range and wanted to show you something. That was about 6-7 feet beyond the arc.
Leo, of course, is a different kind of player. Leo about 6'8", have a point forward, great passer. Andy's not as tall, 6'5", but does a few things better than his dad did. It's an interesting conversation. And Andy has improved. Of course, he benefited from a redshirt year after his freshman season, injured his knee prior to his sophomore year, and took advantage of that year to get bigger, stronger, and work on his game, and he returned a much better player. And as Andy said when we visited a couple weeks ago, I'm almost happy I got hurt. Nobody wants to have a major knee injury, but in many ways it was a benefit to his career development. Sosa, and it's tapped up and in by Swapshire. Louisville within 2 with 2 minutes to go in the half. And then a foul as they came to press, and Swapshire fouled on the way by.
8th offensive rebound for Louisville. 7th second chance point. And again, against his zone, look how wide open Swapshire was on the baseline. As the defenders are paying so much attention to the shooter, you have an opportunity to get yourself in position to offensive rebound.
Louisville with 8 offensive rebounds. Get them right back on the heels of the orange, and then Joseph missed the front of the 1-and-1. It'll be Syracuse ball. Swapshire the last to touch. The foul on Swapshire seconds ago was his first.
Well, that was a missed opportunity right there. You're on the inside position for a free throw. Rarely, if ever, should your opponent get a hand on the ball, let alone give them another opportunity to get a shot.
Jennings, excellent defense twice by Jennings, and Jardine the last to touch. First he stopped Johnson from powering his way to the bucket, and then he stepped out and blocked the shot on the perimeter.
Well, that's what Terrence Jennings does. Pretty long. Use his left hand to block that shot.
Now for the lead for Louisville. Mara, a 3, and it's 28-27 Louisville. Their first lead in quite a while. They never led Thursday at St. John's after falling behind 12-0.
Well, we mentioned it earlier. Louisville started to employ that high screen to kind of rub one of the guys off the top. You're going to take a look at the high screen set right here. And then the look back by Edgar Sosa. Take another look right there, the high screen, and Sosa looks back as Mara circles to the top. Everybody focuses on the defense on that high screen and trying to adjust, and the circle back by Mara gives them a wide open shot.
14-5, Louisville run to give them the lead. They're watching with interest in Philadelphia today. Villanova and Syracuse tied for the Big East lead at the moment. The Wildcats host Connecticut tomorrow as Big Monday starts at 7 Eastern time with the Big East offering, and then at 9, Sharon Collins and Kansas face the Texas A&M Aggies. Big Monday presented by Bud Light as Rivalry Week continues, brought to you by Cisco on ESPN. And Jim Boeheim said yesterday, we are not playing well. We've been fortunate to win some games.
Doesn't he always tell you that?
Yeah, he's been saying that for 34 years
You're
now.
going to win a national championship. We didn't play very well.
He'd win the lottery and complain about having to pay the taxes, but still, I got the feeling yesterday he was a little more convincing that he meant it than when we heard him say it other times in the past. We only lost to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was the only team to shoot a better percentage from the floor than Syracuse this year. They have outshot their opponents in all 24 wins. Pittsburgh was 44% in their win here to Syracuse's 42% that day. Today, Syracuse has shot 41% and Louisville 38%.
Louisville again, volume shooting from beyond the arc. And but for the turnovers, they might be in better shape than a one-point lead.
Pass went through the legs of Buckles. And a minute to go. It's a one-point game. There's the top of the Big East. Syracuse and Nova tied. They go head-to-head here on February 27th. They've already sold more than 34,000 tickets. It's already a sellout. Good hands by Smith to knock it out of bounds. It'll be the largest crowd ever on campus for a college basketball game. And a lot of basketball to be played for both Syracuse and Villanova. Before then, it seems like Syracuse kind of sleptwalked its way through this first half. And the crowd's dead.
Yeah, I mean, they really haven't given them much to be excited about. I mean, they're doing what they normally do, move the ball, getting quality shots, but on the other end, Louisville getting some extra opportunities off the glass and knocking down some threes. Trying to keep it exciting, I guess.
Jardine, the floater, off the glass to get Syracuse back up. And Louisville can just about take the last shot, a fraction of a second difference. And now the fans about as loud as they've been all half. Sosa with Smith, Carrick, Jennings, and Buckles for Louisville. And a moving screen called by Jennings. Rick Pitino hates that call. And he's almost all the way out to midcourt to argue with Bobby Donato, who waved him back. And Coach Pitino is not paying any attention to that instruction.
Yeah, it was a move. There's no question about it. As Jennings slid. At first, I thought he gave him enough room, the defender enough room to change direction.
First foul on Jennings, and now a chance for the last shot of the half for Syracuse. Jardine needs to go. Good defense by Sosa, and the tip did not drop for Onuaku at the buzzer. Syracuse had an 11-point lead. Louisville briefly led by one. And Rick Pitino still upset with Bob Donato. Didn't like this call.
But you can see the lean right there. A little bit of a lean to the left. And the contact made, and good call.
At the half, Syracuse leading Louisville 29-28. Steve Bunin will keep you up to date on all things college basketball. The UPS half start for Louisville for the second game in a row. Syracuse opened up an 11-point lead. Give the Cardinals credit. They battled right back.
Well, they certainly did, and it came down to them playing a more comfortable tempo for themselves. utilizing volume three-point shooting, 18 of their 29 field goal attempts with threes, as well as offensive rebounding. 8 offensive rebounds, 7 points off those offensive rebounds. And again, it's all about the tempo. Syracuse may be a little too methodical to the point where it seems they may be disinterested. But Louisville, in order to win this game, they're going to have to avoid the turnovers. 8 turnovers, 10 Syracuse points off those turnovers.
Neither team shot the ball well in the first half. Louisville 5 out of 19 from three-point range. Jim Boeheim says that's the key. Prevent Louisville from making three-point shots, and you have a good chance to beat the Cardinals, who need a win on the NCAA tournament bubble at 15-9 overall, 6-5 in the Big East. Syracuse trying to stay in first place with Villanova in the Big East, and eyeing perhaps down the road a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Second half underway. Louisville with the ball. Edgar Sosa to Preston Knowles.
Again, we talked about that comfortable tempo. Louisville doing a better job of exploring the defense a little bit. They were using that high screen for a while to get a little penetration and kick.
Now the exploration needs to stop. Desperation heat by Knowles as the shot clock was running out. Not the shot they were hoping for, but they ran the whole 35 and got a bucket from Knowles to give them the lead again. Second time in the game they've led by 1. That's their largest lead. 5 points for Knowles. Trish. Johnson back to Trish with Routens, Jackson, and Onuaku to begin the second half for Syracuse. Winners of 11 straight. Wes Johnson short. Brandon Trish, the freshman. Routens got Knowles in the air. Beautiful pass to Onuaku.
Well, that's a 12th assist on 14 field goals for Syracuse. And, boy, just a picture-perfect demonstration of ball movement and unselfishness by Syracuse.
Now the officials are conferring. An uneventful game so far in terms of the officiating. Bob Donato, Tim Higgins, Tim Clougherty. Rick Pitino is upset about something. They're going to look at the basket by Preston Knowles to see if it was a 2 or a 3. Apparently Coach Pitino thought it was a 3, or at least it had a good chance of being a 3. So they're going to go to the monitor and look at it. They talked to each other first, and apparently they weren't certain.
And certainly a scoring issue that is reviewable and correctable. Take a look at the desperation shot. Oh, it's definitely a 2. His foot seemed to be actually looked as though he was certainly in front of that blue line, which is the three-point line for men.
And it is a 2. That was what it was called originally, and confirmed now by Tim Higgins and his officiating mates.
Yeah, one more look, but you can see his foot is actually on the orange line, which is the women's three-point line.
So it's Louisville down by 1. Each team has scored a basket here in the opening moments of the second half. Swapshire led all scores at the half with 8 points. Sosa open for 3, and Jackson went flying through the air, the junior out of Philadelphia, for the rebound.
And again, look for Syracuse to continue to explore inside. Significant advantage in points in the paint, 22-10.
Routens into traffic. Jackson fouled on the arm as Smith and Knowles tried to rip it away. And the foul is on Jerry Smith. And that's his first. Star Watch update on Valentine's Day. Samuels with 2 quick fouls really hasn't been much of a factor. Their leading scorer and rebounder for the year, and Wes Johnson just 5 points. Johnson 2 for 9 shooting, so his offensive woes continued in the first half.
Although Wes Johnson's numbers are part of a very balanced Syracuse attack. No one in double figures, everybody around 6 or 8 points right now.
Jackson had to wait a long time to find some space with Swapshire defending. The lead 3 for Syracuse.
And once again, Louisville revealing that soft underbelly in the paint. Just can't seem to stop balls getting inside that paint.
Knowles whips it underneath. Swapshire sent it back to Knowles. We haven't seen Reginald dealt with back spasms. And Knowles buries a three. His second three of the ball game. He has 8 points, 5 here in the second half. Johnson the mid. And then Johnson at the rim with Onuaku.
Well, you talk about risk-reward against that pressure. Certainly high risk against Syracuse and certainly beat the press and attack you.
Knowles knew that shot was off. He took off for the rebound but didn't get it. Now Roughton. Johnson step back baseline jumper pops out to Edgar Sosa, the senior from the Bronx, originally from the Dominican Republic, all the way to the bucket. That's a couple of times the Syracuse defense has allowed him to go right down the lane. Pressure, and Sosa nearly stole the Roughton's pass.
Those good fundamentals by Trish, coming to meet the ball against pressure. You can't just reach for it.
Trish, that is a three. And a foul on Rick Jackson on the rebounding action. And that'll be the third on Jackson. First player in the game with significant foul trouble.
And you just saw Edgar Sosa just survey the floor, wind his way through the transition defense, or lack thereof, by Syracuse.
So Jackson out with the three, and Chris Joseph is in, as is Scoop Jardine. Brandon Trish hasn't had a very good day for Syracuse, has not scored. And he has Jardine as Boeheim as the backup. Boeheim says some days Trish is better, other days Jardine's better. Today's been a day when Jardine's been better. Samuels went up for the dunk, didn't make it, but he was fouled. Onuaku. Second foul on Onuaku. Third team foul on the Orange here in the second half.
And in college basketball today, where guard play is at such a premium, what a luxury to have two guards like Jardine and Trish.
Louisville trying to move up into a tie with Marquette for sixth place in the Big East right now. Marquette, one of the great stories in the league this year. They're 7-5, but their 5 league losses have been by a total of 11 points. They've had an excruciating season, but give them credit. They've hung in there. Lost a lot of terrific players off their team of a year ago. They've won 5 straight games now to get very much back in the NCAA tournament picture. And credit Buzz Williams for a great coaching job.
Certainly has done a terrific job with an undersized team that just keeps attacking you.
Rakeem Buckles all alone inside. Louisville by 2. 16 minutes to go. And the longer, obviously, they hang in there, the greater the chance for the upset of the number 3 team in the country, which has given a less than spirited performance here today.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it seems to be a methodical effort by Syracuse, almost to the point where it looks as though they're disinterested.
And Louisville certainly is not. Give them credit. We talked to Steve Masiello, the outstanding assistant at Louisville, before the game. Johnson rescued it on the baseline, found Onuaku. It was blocked by Mara. Then tipped up and in by Onuaku. Steve Masiello said sometimes when Louisville has struggled offensively, the defensive energy has dropped off. Well, today, when they were not faring well offensively at the beginning of the game, they stuck with the defense, and that's really what's kept them in the game.
Certainly, and the defense many times should create the energy on the offensive end.
Smith, nice bounce to the baseline. Samuels was fouled on the floor. And that'll get us to immediate timeout. When we come back, Jim Boeheim and Rick Pitino, the early years. And hired on his wedding night, April 3rd, 1976. Here's Jerry Smith with the ball for Louisville. We'll tell you the rest of that story in a moment. It's a story that's been told a couple times over the years, although both coaches offered a couple of little wrinkles to it that I had not heard before. Mara miss. Wes Johnson the rebound, and here comes Andy Routens the other way for Syracuse. Johnson just can't get it to go. Don't know if the leg and the hand are still bothering him, but that was a very flat, wide open three-point shot.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the legs now, and it seems as though Wes Johnson is aiming instead of shooting the ball, and he smiled about it, a little philosophical smile. Maybe I'll get it the next time.
And a steal. And now Smith played it ahead to Sosa, one-on-one with Routens, who defended well. Buckles is fouled by Joseph, and the freshman will go to the line with a chance to give Louisville the lead.
Again, just a good job by Edgar Sosa. Seeing Andy Routens hadn't committed yet and took him straight to the basket. Missed, but offensive rebounds once again, and Louisville recognizes that they need to hit that glass.
Buckles at the line. Boeheim already in the Hall of Fame. Pitino will be one day. But Rick Pitino said he had a couple of other job opportunities back in 1976. He had finished the season as the interim coach at Hawaii at 23 years old. They played UNLV with Tark a couple of times, and Tark was very impressed. He offered Rick Pitino a job as an assistant. He was up for the head coaching job at Wagner, an assistant's job at Fordham. Then here came Jim Boeheim after the wedding ceremony, came to New York to talk to Rick Pitino that night, to talk to him before he went on his honeymoon, offered him the job. Pitino accepted it. And as Pitino went immediately on the road the next day to recruit Louis Orr, who became one of the great players in Syracuse history, Joanne Pitino moved to Syracuse and moved in with Jim Boeheim and his two roommates, all of them bachelors. And she lived with them for several weeks while her husband, her new husband, was on the road recruiting. Joanne says they were a bunch of slobs. Boeheim didn't deny that before the game. That's the part of the story I had never heard before. Joanne Pitino, instead of going on her honeymoon to Hawaii, moved to Syracuse without her husband and moved in with Jim Boeheim and his roommates. Took care of them.
The things we do for love.
Tie game again. Samuels, good movement. Sosa open, and he's starting to feel it. Off that miserable performance Thursday night, Edgar Sosa starting to rattle home some threes.
And again, a good ball movement by Louisville, hitting the top in that sweet spot of the zone.
Jardine fouled on the drive, no basket.
One of the errors is right at that free throw line against this 2-3 zone. If you can ever get it there, then you need somebody who's patient enough to look opposite and catch that zone in rotation.
Colin Buckles was his first. Routens will play it in. Louisville with a three-point lead and a steal. Knowles took it away.
Well, Joseph actually gave it to him.
And then Mara lost it, but Buckles was in the right place. You see the confidence level in Louisville and the energy level getting higher and higher. And right on cue, they turn it over.
Catch it
The longer
first.
this game goes along. Men's college basketball continues tomorrow night. Blockbuster doubleheader on Big Monday, presented by Bud Light. 7 Eastern, UConn and Villanova. And then at 9, number 1 Kansas takes on Texas A&M, which has been moving up in the Big 12 standings. Syracuse a turnover as they inbound the ball.
A little dissension right there. Andy Routens expected Jardine to be in a spot that Jardine wasn't, and they gave each other a couple of looks and a few words passed between them. But they're all right. They came back and dapped each other. That's what teammates do.
You can sense the anxiety in the crowd now. 11-game winning streak for Syracuse. First place in the Big East on the line here today. Both Syracuse and Villanova 11-1 in the league entering today. Villanova plays tomorrow night. That big one against Connecticut. Batted around, last touched by Syracuse. The Louisville bench is alive. The Syracuse bench and crowd are completely dead.
Right now, it's going to be difficult unless they get way behind and get this crowd involve exhorting them to come up. It's going to be difficult for Syracuse and to generate that emotion. They're trying to do it out there on the floor, but I've mentioned it before, a little too methodical to the point of disinterest, and it's hard to get it back. But Louisville doing a pretty good job of trying to give it back.
A tough pass by Siva, but Buckles has had a number of chances now where he just couldn't corral passes along the baseline. Of course, the Syracuse team hasn't given the crowd much reason to be engaged, but the crowd hasn't done much to help inspire the team either. If 30,000 people can be quiet, that is the case here today. Rollins might have tried to be a little too fancy off a nice pass from Jardine. Andy frustrated with himself, and Jim Boeheim with a word, perhaps of encouragement, perhaps not. Just under 12 minutes remaining. Louisville in dire need of a big win to enhance its NCAA tournament resume. They have only one win this year against a team in the RPI top 50, and that's South Florida. They've played a tough schedule, rated the 7th toughest in the country, but they haven't beaten any of those tough teams. This would be a major victory today.
Yeah, and it would also be one of those stepping stones. You have a team that's kind of shot themselves in the foot, particularly at St. John's, where they turned the ball over. Porous defense. Win here with the effort that they've given thus far.
Syracuse fortunate to escape a tight one the other night here against Connecticut. Can they do it again? You play with fire too often, sooner or later you will get burned. Here's Joseph leading a rush for Syracuse. The Jardine, and now Rowden's bidding to tie it with a deep three.
Well, that was deep enough where I don't know how a defense can really pay attention to him. But I guess you better recognize Andy Rowden's with seemingly unlimited range.
Now the crowd trying to get involved. It's almost as if they're convincing themselves to get actively involved. Tie game, 11 minutes to go in a huge game for both teams. Out of the corner, Maris three wouldn't go, but Buckles is there. Good defense by Joseph and Onawaku. Jardine, Rowden's another three.
And it seemed as though he was kind of ticked at the world, but he channeled that anger the right way. And it's a family affair right now.
Yep. A lot of love in the Rowden's family. Very close. Great hands by Wes Johnson to flick it away to Jardine. And a good rally back defensively by Louisville in the game with 10:20 to go. Joseph. Rowden's not enough on the pass for Rowden's to shoot quickly. Gave the defense time to react. 15 to shoot.
And again, good ball movement inside out, gets the defense man-to-man scrambling, but then this time Jardine misconnects, expecting Rowden's to be someplace that he wasn't.
And that was a bullet. That would have been hard for anybody to catch.
And Jardine accepted responsibility. He pointed to himself with the mea culpa.
Well, Louisville's had answers all afternoon long. Will that continue against the number 3 team in the country? Swapshire to Sosa with Mara, Samuels, and Knowles. Mara's gotten a lot of playing time today for Rick Pitino without Delp, and he's given them some good minutes. Good hands, and Rowden's couldn't steal it. Made a good effort to try to rescue it as it went across the end line.
But it's so difficult to throw through this 2-3 defense with the length and the anticipation. These guys from Syracuse in that zone, they've just seen about everything.
Here comes the Knowles shot clock running out. He got fouled. Really got bailed out.
Wow. I said the zone has seen everything. That was one thing they hadn't seen. And as you mentioned, bailing them out. Shot clock running down, and that, I don't know, that was definitely a bailout, not by Syracuse as much as it was on the call.
Well, Tim Higgins the call, and Jim Boeheim didn't like it, still doesn't like it. Then he might have a legitimate gripe. 9 points for Knowles, foul on Joseph was his third. So that was a big call in a couple of ways. Louisville's been called for just 2 team fouls here in the second half. Syracuse 5 team fouls. 9.5 to go. 1-point game. Syracuse with the lead. They haven't played a lot of close games. Not only 24-1, but they've been winning by an average of 17 points per game. Johnson out of the corner, rattles one home. That's a 3. Sosa. Tough luck, but Swapshire right there to put it back up and in.
Well, Louisville making good use, as we mentioned at the beginning of the telecast, as they should, of the offensive rebound. Difficulty scoring from the field. They've got to take and get second chance opportunities.
The first bucket of the second half for Swapshire, who led all scores with 8 points at the half. Joseph penetrated a little too hot to handle for Onuaku. So now 2 for another tie, 3 for the lead for Louisville.
Well, it's been a tough afternoon from the field for Wes Johnson. But shooters, as they will, if you can't knock them down, you got to keep shooting.
And they ruled it was last touch by Louisville, so it's Syracuse ball with 17 to shoot. Chance to pad the 2-point lead. Jardine to Joseph with Onuaku, Routens, and Johnson. 5 seconds to shoot. Joseph, a good move to shed Siva. Nicely done by Chris Joseph, the sophomore from Montreal. Just 4 points. A rare quiet game for him. He's been one of the best players in the conference over the last month. Buckles in the middle of that defense. Back out for Mara. Short. Knowles the long rebound. 8 minutes to go, a 4-point game.
Tell you what, Rakeem Buckles in the middle of that zone. He's going to have to start making himself a threat offensively. Although that was a good pass right there.
To Samuels, who was fouled. And he'll go to the line for 2 after a media timeout. Foul is on Wesley Johnson, his first. The Joseph jumper is given the Cuse a 4-point lead. It is officially the largest on-campus crowd in college basketball this season. 31,053. The attendance inside the place they call the Loud House. They've sold more than 34,000 tickets for the game in 13 days here at Villanova. Game day will be here for that one. And the folks here today have seen a very competitive game.
Yeah, but the Loud House hasn't been all that loud for a large part of this ball game.
Been the not very loud house today. Louisville's had a lot to do with that. That's the first point for Samuels. Amazing that Louisville could be in this position with so little from Samuels. Been their leading scorer and rebounder for the year. Boeheim was not happy to see Louisville lose the other night by 19 at St. John's. He said, I don't think that's a good thing. They'll come here knowing Rick Pitino very ready to play. And they have. That 19-point loss was the margin that equaled the other 4 conference losses combined. They lost their first 4 league games by 19 points total. They lost by 19 in New York to St. John's Thursday.
Well, you knew they'd come ready to play. 8:30 walkthrough this morning. Rick Pitino leaving nothing to chance.
Joseph, as he made his way to the bucket, lost it. Of course, Rick Pitino had a deal during the week with the rumors about his interest in the New Jersey Nets position, which he again flatly denied. He said the other day, I'm going to die in Louisville. And I think just to make sure and prove his point, they practiced at the New Jersey Nets facility yesterday before they came up here to Syracuse. Samuels, nicely done. Beautiful move. And that ties the game again. 50 apiece, under 7 minutes to go. Tim Higgins has a foul call. Tim Clougherty had one as well. And it's going against Syracuse. It's on Scoop Jardine, his first. Apparently both officials had the same call. They looked at each other and nodded. So that's the 7th team foul against Syracuse. Only 2 against Louisville here in the second half. 6:45 to go. So they might be in a situation where they have fouls to give down the stretch.
And Samardo Samuels showing some signs of life. obviously bodes well for Louisville. He had been walking on eggshells, picking up 2 early fouls, trying to avoid picking up that third one.
There out of the corner, a 3 for the freshman. And then a foul in the backcourt. Mara has made 3 threes today off the bench for 9 points, and none bigger than this one.
And you see, it's almost as though Syracuse is daring Mara to shoot it. You see him in the corner all by himself.
Timeout called by Syracuse before they inbounded it. Foul on Knowles was his second. Just the 3rd team foul on Louisville. Super Tuesday means college basketball action coach he is. Butler, 15 straight wins.
I'll tell you, Brad Stevens keeping his team consistent. A lot of people didn't expect them to remain in that top 25.
Joseph was alone for a moment. Merritt came over and made it difficult. And Louisville the last to touch, and a fresh shot clock for Syracuse, down by 3 with 6:03 to go.
You saw Kalen Lucas from Michigan State back in the lineup. There's no doubt how important he is to their attack.
Shockingly bad year for Penn State.
Yeah, and I saw them earlier this year and thought that they had a chance to really do a little bit of damage in the Big Ten. Saw them against Virginia pull out a win.
Johnson with a 2 from the elbow. 12 points for Wes Johnson. Louisville's made its last 4. They lead by 1, and now Rick Pitino wants to talk it over. The ball and the lead with 5:41 to go. And against his mentor, Jim Boeheim, Pitino's had the upper hand. His teams have won 7 of the last 8 against Syracuse, including that Kentucky national championship win over Syracuse in '96.
And all it is just a real quick feed to the high post, quick shot. I mean, Wes Johnson's feet barely touched the ground. He rose up to catch the ball and was right back in the air with the jumper.
Well, Jim Boeheim's been saying for a while now we're not playing that well. For a while, I thought maybe it was just to try to calm things down here. All the talk about the Final Four, and is this the best Syracuse team ever? But now, after the close call with Connecticut the other night, they didn't play very well in one. And this performance here today, I think he's right. They're not playing very well right now.
Well, they're not playing to the potential that we expect now that, you know, this is a team that's, you know, among the preeminence in college basketball. So far, though, they're doing enough, obviously, to stay in this game, because if Louisville doesn't turn the ball over as much and give the Orange some easy opportunities, Syracuse could be down a lot more than just 1.
Samuel shut off by Onuaku, and he made it. Samardo Samuels, the sophomore from Jamaica, came to New York in 2004. He is emerging here down the stretch. Another 3-point lead for Louisville. And the clock ticks down to 5 minutes left.
Louisville kind of playing almost a matchup, like a 1-2-2, but they're coming out and guarding guards outside in a man situation until they pass it inside, which is kind of confusing Syracuse. But there's no confusion here. Samardo Samuels recognizes he's got to start generating some offense. Quiet for most of this game.
10 seconds to shoot for Syracuse as they play it in. Tough step back by Johnson. Battle for the rebound, and Samuels has it. And now Bob Donato calls for an official's timeout. I think the ball's wet. Samardo Samuels scoreless till deep into the second half. Has scored 6 of the last 9 points. For Louisville, looking for its biggest win of the year, one they really need with an eye toward an NCAA tournament berth. And trying to move up into a tie with Marquette. Syracuse, Villanova 11-1 apiece. Then the 3-way tie at 8-4 after Pittsburgh's triple overtime win Friday night at home against West Virginia.
Louisville trying to stay off of page 2 of the Big East standing.
Samuels fully engaged now. Then well defended by Onuaku. 10 to shoot. Mara Samuels there again, trying to dunk, and Onawaku denied him. But Buckles is there to score.
Well, now you see Louisville with a bounce in their step. They see the reality with some effort of what could occur. And they're getting after the loose balls, beating Syracuse to the 50-50 balls. You take a look here. We talked about Smarto Samuels now starting to wake up. Missed that dunk, but Buckles is right there to bail him out. Ball on the floor, and the black shirt's the first one to it.
Sosa's foul is first. There's still quite a distance from the limit, just the fourth team foul. Joseph on a pass that was deflected. Syracuse just can't even execute a simple pass and catch right now. Seconds to go on the shot clock for Syracuse. And Jardine a long way from the bucket and finding no room. Johnson didn't even catch iron. And now Louisville, with its largest lead, can expand it with 3:20 to go. And the number 3 team in the country in serious trouble on its home floor.
In the last several times, Louisville's employed a defense that's been a zone, but they've matched up outside in the backcourt in a man situation, confusing Syracuse.
Buckles off the Mara miss, and Johnson the last to touch it. Well, give Mara credit. He's not bashful. He's taken 11 threes today. Made 3 of them. But it's Samuels, their best player, who's been the man of the moment for Louisville. Major anxiety in this huge crowd here at the Dome. More than 31,000 on hand. They've watched Louisville open up a 5-point lead as we look at the Cisco game track. Smarto Samuels emerging here late, and Wes Johnson another rough day. 5 out of 18. And it's Samuels again on the lob. Beautiful play out of the timeout. Largest lead for Louisville. 7 points and now under 3 to go. Joseph fouled. Swapshire thought it was a clean block, but Swapshire got called for the foul this second.
And you saw Smarto Samuels just materializing out of thin air. It's not as though he's been exactly invisible over the last 4 minutes, but man.
It was a 2-shot foul, the 5th team foul on Louisville. And Joseph got a very charitable bounce. A couple of bounces around the rim. He's a 72% free throw shooter. Onawaku has gone to the bench for Syracuse. Two free throws by Joseph. Louisville by 5. 2:50 to go.
Well, look for Louisville, obviously, to work a little bit of clock, spread the floor, but not ignore any easy opportunities. And right now, they want Syracuse to come out and get them. That spreads the floor, creates some gaps, opportunities to drive.
Well, why not shorten the game? Underdog on the road, poised for the big upset. Samuels had it roll off. Made a nice move again to the bucket. Jackson rebounded. Routens whipped it underneath. Johnson. And a foul on Samuels.
Wow, what a huge turnaround. Opportunity for Louisville to take a 7-point lead. Instead, it rolls around the basket. And now Wes Johnson, not only on the free throw line for 2, but Samuels picks up another foul.
His 3rd, the team's 6th. So now Johnson to shoot 2 with the sore hand. 76% for the season from the free throw line for Wes. 13 points. Chance to make it a 1-possession game with this one. Swapshire for Sosa. Smith, Samuels, Mara for Louisville.
And again, good spacing by Louisville, looking to run time.
Crowd deafening now. You wonder if they waited a little too long to get involved. Most of them on their feet. 1:45 to go. 5 to shoot. Swapshire almost lost it. Routens with great hands, but called for a foul. He thought it was clean. Instead, he's called for a foul with 4 seconds on the shot clock. First foul on Andy Routens. It'll be a 1-and-1.
And you see right there, it looked like it was right on the wrist. If he had hit the ball would have taken a different kind of bounce.
And Swapshire, their best free throw shooter, 84% for the year. 1 out of 2 today. 1-and-1. And they're in the right spot for Louisville.
Well, you talk about a fundamental breakdown. Syracuse not putting a body on anyone. Mara's been kind of disrespected, if you will, for most of this game.
You can almost tell the way everybody lined up along the lane that they weren't sure it was a 1-and-1. Everybody very casual. Mara out of the corner. The freshman with a huge 3 for Louisville. One of the biggest shots of their season. And when they look back at the end of the year, it likely will be as well if this score stands. His 4th 3 of the game. 1:05 to go. Joseph fouled, and he'll shoot 2. Boy, Mara with the alert rebound off the miss by Swapshire, and then the corner 3.
Yeah, Syracuse kind of ignoring Mara, and I think he's done enough today to warrant some attention. Now they get to him, but still not quick enough. And there'll be some candy and roses waiting for him when he gets back to Louisville.
He hasn't played much lately. Joseph makes the free throw. 15 minutes, and many of those minutes came because of the rout at St. John's. The previous 3 games, Merritt played a total of 14 minutes combined. He's played most of this second half today. His team leads by 4 with 1:04 to go. Joseph the clutch free throws. Trish back in for Syracuse. They're going to bring all-out pressure now with Johnson on the ball and Buckles inbounded. Buckles got it in to Sosa. Ahead for Smith. Need to get it over the timeline. They did with about 2 seconds to spare. Merrill wisely held on to it. Sanders is calling for the ball underneath.
Syracuse has got to come out. They got to extend right now. I don't know what you're waiting for.
They come to trap Sosa, and he's fouled by Routens. His second.
See the frustration on Jim Boeheim's face. He expected his guys to extend that defense a heck of a lot earlier than they did.
This will be the last 1-and-1. It's the 9th team foul of the half against Syracuse. Syracuse's share of Big East. First place standing tenuous at best right now. Villanova hosts Connecticut tomorrow night at 7 on Big Monday on ESPN. Louisville trying to match Marquette at 7 and 5. Sosa, the free throw shooter, 65% for the year. He's a senior, short, and this time Syracuse made sure it got the rebound. Jardine.
You don't necessarily need a 3. You can.
He's open for it. Short with it. Johnson in the right spot. Blocked by Samuels. Out of bounds. When he blocked it, it hit the line apparently. But he saved what looked like an easy 2 for Wes Johnson after the offensive rebound.
Well, certainly it was open for the 3. Scoop Jardine 37% beyond the arc, but Louisville doesn't want to foul you. A quick push to the basket and go, you got a bucket.
Like that from Chris Joseph. 2-point game. Timeout Orange. 32 seconds to go.
Yeah, how often do teams settle for 3s at a point when they don't necessarily need them? A push to the basket, even though the team that's ahead necessarily has to play defense. You take a look right there. Nobody wants to foul. Nobody wants to give Syracuse an extra opportunity to score points without time elapsing, and hence you get that quick bucket now. 2-point ball game and plenty of time. Syracuse just needs to play solid defense on the first pass. Maybe foul and get another opportunity.
If they foul, it'll be a 2-shot opportunity for Louisville. Each team at 1 timeout left. The arrow points for Syracuse. Buckles will inbound it. with Samuel Sosa, Mara, and Smith. And Johnson right on the ball as Buckles tries to play it in. With deafening noise now. Sosa, Buckles, Smith, and it hit the end line.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
So now Syracuse ball, 2 to tie, 3 for the lead with a half minute to go.
Rick Pitino's telling me, you got to advance the ball. Don't ever throw it back.
Well, Jardine will use the last Syracuse timeout. Rick Pitino still trying to figure out what went wrong there on the inbounding play. He's going to walk away and gather his thoughts. His associate coach Ralph Willard talks to the team, but there's the call, and a good one by Tim Higgins, who was right on the end line. Buckles bounce pass hit the baseline.
Yeah, when Buckles receives the ball, he's got somewhat of a size advantage. Survey the floor and advance the ball. You don't have to throw it behind, and particularly trying to bounce pass when you're on the baseline. But you kind of live with that with freshmen. You live and then you die.
The only loss of the season for Syracuse back on January 2nd. Here in the Dome, tough way to open the new year for the Orange. Pittsburgh played a terrific game and won with relative ease in the final analysis, 82-72, ending a 13-game Syracuse winning streak. 3-pointers, clutch free throws down the stretch by Pitt. They had a 16-4 run in the second half. And a big win for Pittsburgh here at the Dome. The Orange have won 11 in a row since then. On the ropes here today, trailed by 7. Syracuse trying to stay in first place in the Big East. They've battled back to within 2, and now they have the ball, 29.2 to go, no timeouts. Have to get it in cleanly, and Jardine does.
And you got to guard against the 3. You can live with the 2 because you can go to overtime if you're Louisville.
Johnson, strong drive, and then he threw it up off the bottom of the backboard, and an intentional foul called by Tim Higgins as Smith got knocked to the deck. And Jim Boeheim can't believe the call. It's the 4th foul on Chris Joseph.
Well, here's the drive right there. Wow, I'm not sure I saw anything intentional. Well, here we are right here. Joseph, maybe it's his left arm pulling him backwards. And that seemed to be pretty inadvertent.
So it's Jerry Smith shooting 2, and then they'll get the ball.
I mean, look, I could see how the official believes it was an intentional foul. They're tussling for the ball. The hand winds up on the shoulder rather than the ball still pulling away. But in this kind of game, you utilize some discretion.
It's a pretty tough call.
Yeah, you utilize some discretion.
First 2 points for Smith. So without much from Samardos Samuels into the second half and nothing from Smith all day. I mean, his hand's already in there. He's trying to foul once they lost possession of the ball.
See, he lost an opportunity to get the ball, but the pullback.
I don't know.
What's the interpretation?
The player's spinning away, so when you're fouling him and he's pulling away, he's going to go down. That's a huge call.
Yeah, the idea is not about intent. It's about whether you're making a play on the ball or not.
Smith. Crowd wanted to travel. They won't get that. They're going to get a foul on Wes Johnson. So 2 big free throws again for Smith, with a chance to make life very difficult for Boeheim and the Orange. Had a chance to tie it. Johnson, the strong drive, but Raheem Buckles, the freshman, strong defense. The shot never did get up on the rim. The intentional foul. And Louisville 15.5 away from its biggest win of the year.
Wow.
That was wide left all the way.
Terry Smith, pretty good free throw shooter. You got to knock these free throws down, try to assure that revolving door to turn a little bit more for Louisville. We talked about Thursday. Joe Lenardi, our bracketologist, had them as one of the last teams in. They lose to St. John's. They were one of the last teams out.
Boy, he missed both. 4-point game. Routens for 3, short with it. Back it goes to Jardine for three. No. Under 5 seconds to go. Louisville is going to get a huge win, and they finish it with the exclamation point from Buckles.
Well, an outstanding win for Louisville, coming here to Syracuse to win this game, particularly after the drubbing they took at the hands of St. John's. And we talked about the revolving door as far as the bubble talk is concerned. In again, out again. Well, back in again.
Yeah, they're on the inside of the bracketologists' projections right now with that win, no doubt. And they deserved it. Jim Boeheim said if we keep playing as we have, we're going to get smacked. That was the word he used yesterday. They got smacked on their home court against a spirited Louisville team. Buckles, who made some big plays for them with the finish. Mara right there. Boy, did he make some big plays. 3-point shots and that offensive rebound on the free throw miss. On a day when they didn't get huge numbers from Samuels and Smith. They get a much-needed win. 7-5 in the Big East. And now, Villanova all alone in first place in the conference. Final score, Louisville 66, Syracuse 60. For more on this game, turn to ESPN News for a post-game extra. Coming up next, it's bowling with the great Rob Stone from Reno, Nevada. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the Worldwide.